Hello everyone, my name is Andrew Berry. I'm the Euphonium Representative and co-director at the Atlanta Low Brass Academy. In today's video, we're going to be going over some practice techniques that you can utilize when approaching the GMEA All-State Band Etude 2021-2022 Symphonic Band Lyrical. Now, it's a fairly short etude, but there's enough to unpack here that we should talk about it before playing the horn. Let's first look at our key signature. We've got 5 flats: B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, and G flat. So our scale sheet tells us we're in concert D flat major. So make sure to practice your concert D flat major scale as well as your chromatic scale every time before performing this etude. If you look on the third line of it, there are a lot of accidentals. So if we can practice and master our chromatic scale and get a really beautiful, solid tone on every single note, it'll better help us when we get to this last line of this etude when practicing and performing. Now let's look at our time signature. We're in 3/4, which means the quarter note gets the beat, and there are 3 quarter notes per measure. Now, if you look at this first little block of a measure, we only have 3/8 notes. It's because it's a pickup measure to the first full measure that starts with that grace note A flat up to the F. So instead of counting it 1 and 2, we'll count it as if it's a pickup measure or a previous measure to the next full measure, and we would count it and 3 and then that F would be the downbeat, beat 1. Tempo marking, we're marked quarter note equals 56 espressivo. So you can have a metronome set on your stand to 56 and play with it so you have a basic understanding of how the rhythm should sound in tempo. But since it's marked espressivo and we have rubato and the a tempo later on, we have the liberty to kind of mess around with time a little bit. So feel free to speed up and slow down as you play the etude, as long as it kind of stays within the context of 56 beats per minute. I wouldn't stray much below like 50 beats per minute or much higher than 60 beats per minute, but you can mess around with it a little bit. Now, specifically with that rubato marking in measure 5, if you play it straight in time, it's going to be very difficult to phrase it well and to come in measure 6 with a nice full mezzo forte sound. So I would recommend slowing down there and taking a breath like I did earlier in the video after the B flat. If you go back and listen, it just kind of helps the phrase smooth out and in nicely before we hop back into that mezzo forte and get the ball rolling again. Let's talk dynamics a little bit. At the very beginning, we crescendo up to mezzo piano on that start high F, and then we kind of stay around mezzo piano until measure 5 where we crescendo to mezzo forte, like we had discussed before. So basically from measure 6 to measure 9, that should be our fullest, loudest part of this etude, because then in measure 9, we decrescendo to piano. So play relatively soft in measure 10 as we go through all those accidentals, and then we crescendo up to mezzo piano in the next to last measure, and we decrescendo down to piano as we get to the last measure. So it all stays relatively soft. We can get full sounding, especially in measure 8 when we get up to the high B flat, but don't feel like you need to play super loud ever. Just play nice and comfortably. Luckily, because it's marked mezzo forte and we're up in the higher tessitura in that section, the horn is naturally going to play a bit louder than those notes in the staff, so you really don't have to worry about it a whole lot. The last thing I would say is with this very last measure, we have 2 16th note grace notes that go to that D flat. I think it's really easy for people to see grace notes and think they have to be super quick, as if, the next to last measure and last measure would sound like da, 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 da. And it's really out of character and it doesn't sound good with what we had just performed before. So take your time with those 16th notes. Let yourself settle into the pitches because we're going from high F to A flat to E flat to D flat. So there's lots of leaps there. So take it slow, take your time, especially when you're practicing it. Turn them into whole notes, half notes, quarter notes. Just get the pitches centered. And then when you perform it at performance tempo, again, take your time. Da, 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 dee, da is much more in context and it's a lot easier. I hope this information helps you and best of luck on the audition.